Great gentleman. I have two gentlemen in the studio. Well, let me say good morning to Chairman Godwin Tamaklo, Chair for the Rate Group. You're based in Tema, basically in oil, transport and other derivatives within the value chain as well. And then Carl Domenyo, you're in North Carolina, Charlotte specifically. I wish you all the best. And then, of course, Chairman Yakumka. Have Fuseni Issa has promised to behave gently today. The last week he was very disruptive. So have you been monitoring the registration? Good morning to you, my good friend.
Good morning, Roland. I take exception to
I
your
withdraw.
description
I
of
withdraw.
me
I
of being
withdraw.
disruptive.
Let me
Obviously, you don't expect me to sit here whilst certain disparaging statements are made against myself and my party. I'm here to do a job of work.
No,
and
right.
I take exception to that comment.
I withdraw that, and I deeply apologize to you. Let me just introduce you again.
That's
Former
fine.
Member of Parliament and also here a regular with us, Fuseni Issa, is here once again. And he has promised that we'll have a nice conversation. Good morning. Now, and then
you apologize and you took it back.
And then also
That's so good.
Eduji Tamaklo, good morning to you. Eduji Tamaklo, I know that both of you had been monitoring the registration. Has it been going for you as well throughout the periods?
Good morning to you and good morning to Chairman Godwin Tamaklo as well. I can say that it has been quite an exciting experience going out there, seeing the 18 plus partaking in the registration. And you can see, notwithstanding all the difficulties that have been put in their ways, they coming out in their numbers to get registered. They want to be part of the conversation to decide the leadership of this country. And I'm very encouraged. You can see how all impediments have been placed in their ways, the difficulty, access. And most of them are in secondary schools.
Okay.
And you know, in most of the villages and towns, the secondary schools are not in the center of towns. They are usually outskirts, the traditional notion. And so getting them to move from their schools to come to the registration, the difficulty that they are going through. And all these things would have been completely taken care of if we had an electoral commission that was a bit listening, and that has not happened. I just hope that a future electoral commission would consider some of these impacts and do the needful.
What do you mean by future electoral? That's the electoral commission we have. It's an
an electoral commission that will be thinking about the welfare of people and not the hot-headedness that we are experiencing now.
Well, we have the
Roland,
minority. Let me just say, we have the minority in Parliament also issuing a statement, and that's the Minority Caucus in charge of health, on health, about how, well, allocations to the National Health Insurance Authority to take care of service providers hasn't been done appropriately. So we'll be talking about that in our second discussion. But the first one is about traders who are raising concerns, and it's not only the Ghana Union of Traders, for which we'll be having the president soon, but we have the Ghana Federation of Traders. They call themselves Gov't, and they are raising concerns about the current depreciation of the cedi against the US dollar especially. I already have on the line Benjamin Tichiado, Director of Communication for GATEF, that's the Ghana Federation of Traders. Good morning to you. How are you? Okay, so we'll raise them as and when. But what do you make of the current situation where, well, the traders are raising concerns? Can we get the one for? Okay, so let's get Dr. Joseph Obeng, who is the president of GUTA.
It's eating deep into our capital and is making businesses to shrink.
Okay.
Because we are unable to bring the same volumes that we used to bring. Because depreciation of the cedi simply means loss of capital.
Right.
What it means is that if maybe your import capital is $100,000, that's what you use to import.
Right.
And just January, you were able to use 1,200,000 Ghana cedis to buy $100,000. What it means is that when you want to after selling your goods, you want to buy the same dollar again, now you have to require $1,570,000.
Right.
The business that we do not do it in isolation. We do it with our customers. So if the customer is unable to buy because the purchasing power has reduced because of the effects of inflation, it means that they are unable to buy the same quantity of goods that they used to buy with the same amount of money. Means that this time, if they used to buy 10 items, this time they were only able to buy 3 of those items.
Well, so Fuseni, that's the issue. And we also know that the Ghana Union of Trade Association very much have been having some great interactions with the chair for Ghana's Economic Management Team, the EMT as well, and Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. What's the direction? How are we stemming the tide when it comes to the cedi against the US dollar?
Good morning to you again, Roland. Good morning to Judy, my good friend. And a good morning to
Why, he's not your good friend. The way you laughed.
Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. The campaign is still on. He's
Dr.
out
Mahmoud
of the
Baumia,
country
good morning to you. John Dramani Mahama, good morning to you as well.
To attend to certain programs, and I pray that he has traveling. I pray for traveling mercies for him.
Okay. He has some campaign item. Oh, you can tell us about that.
No, he's out of the country to attend over the weekend. He attended some
but he'll
events
be back
in the. Oh, certainly. In the next couple of days, he should be back. The EC registration is ongoing. I have been around a bit of the around within the region. I've been to some constituencies, and by and large, the EC is attaining its projected number of potential registrants to be enrolled onto the voters register. So I think that by and large, we've had a fairly good exercise, and thankfully, the EC has agreed to extend it by, I think, 2 days, and so hopefully by Wednesday, when the whole exercise comes to a close, the EC would have attained its targeted peacefully, and we are looking forward to the other. Oh, that's what I said. I've been around some constituencies within the region. And
let me hold on. I have Benjamin Techiado here. He's a communication director for the Ghana Federation of Trade. Good morning to you, Benjamin. We tried to get you earlier.
Yeah, morning, Roland.
Okay. There's a concern that the traders, you guys are putting too much pressure on the government over this cedi depreciation. What do you have to say to that? Even issuing a statement for which we have to do the discussion.
Yeah, let me say good morning to your viewers. Yeah, we need to do so because this particular government promised we the traders a lot of goodies concerning the exchange rate. Let's go back. 2008, dollar was 1 cedi. The state of John Mahama and Afghanistan from 1 cedi to 3 cedis, that makes 4 cedis. The state of 8 years, Akufo-Addo and Mahmoud Baumia administration, close to 16 cedis, So, assuming, let's take it 15 cedis. How many different? 12 cedis different. So, we realize that no, this government is not prepared to win the traders because now depreciation needs lots of capital. A lot of us have lost our capital. We don't have anywhere to go. There's no money from the government to support our businesses. That's the reason we came out to say we are giving the government 2 weeks to revert the dollar to 10 cedis. If we didn't see anything of that sort after the 2 weeks, they are coming out. 2015, Gov't organized a demonstration at that strike for 3 days. 2015. Why today Gov't is not doing so? Why today Gov't is only concerned about let's dialogue. That's where our concern is from. Because today, dollar is close to 16 cedis. It's very serious in this country. Now food inflation is 48%. Anytime food inflation shoots up based on dollar and the fuel. 2015, because of special import levy, 2%, we closed stores for 3 days. And today, dollar is close to 16 cedis. We are here talking about dialogue. So we are giving the government just 2 weeks. The 2 weeks, government to do something about the exchange rate, or else we advise ourselves.
What do you expect the government to do about the exchange rate? Is it because you are directly involved in the importation of the items or the consumables?
government know what we should do. Government to cut expenditure. Government should do. Government have they have more men. Well, look at this economic management team. There are more goons. There are more big men. They can stop it. They can do anything. What you are saying is we can't decide for the government because they have the men to do so. We are giving the government just to get another competency. We don't see anything. We come out. We do 2 weeks time. We are coming with praises and songs. We are shouting because we have nothing to do than to demonstrate against the government. If we can do 2015, we can also do 2015. 2024. We can
Okay.
do the same thing.
Okay. So you are saying that you go on a demonstration if nothing is done?
That's our own message. We'll go on demonstration after 2 weeks. If we didn't hear anything,
After 2 weeks?
After 2 weeks.
All
Then
right.
we come to Cedi.
All right. Thank you very much, Benjamin Tichiado, who is the Director of Communication when it comes to the Ghana Federation of Traders. They've issued a statement, and that ultimatum has been given 2 weeks. If they don't see any change, they'll hit the streets, they say, or they'll try to picket. Mr. Cedi, sir, what do you say to that?
I think it's all well and good. We've heard their cries, and we all live in this economy. We go to the market. We are economic beings as well, so we are experiencing exactly what he's describing. But then again, for the role of government is not looking on concern. What the practice has been within this economy is that we have run a very open market economy, such that the price of forex is determined by how much forex is available and how much is demanded at every point in time. Obviously, at this time, there are a few other transactions happening that is having a direct impact on the forex or the exchange rate. In the last couple of weeks, we have heard, he started from the minority leader where he alleged that some contractors have been paid. This has introduced quite some significant liquidity into the system. Some other transactions like payments of about $400 million to the IPPs. This bond payments has happened in the excess of about 12 billion. In the last couple of months, there is excess liquidity in the system. And obviously, because of this trend as well, there's a certain significant speculative activity in the system as well. Because of the way the city has behaved, people are hedging. Hedging means that people with this who have been able to get some of this liquidity as a result of government payment of contractors or payments on bondholders or even with the IPPs are hedging on the currency. It means that the demand is outstripped the level of supply at this particular moment. And obviously, it means that the price will go up.
So you're saying because of these payments, people are mopping up?
I'm trying to explain. Because people are hedging against the city. I mean, so you get a city payment, you go to the market, you change into forex. It means that the demand at this point in time outstrips the supply. And you see, government itself studies the cycle at every point in time within the year. There's a very good indication. It's a cycle. So you have a very good indication how much forex will be required at every point in time within the year. But when this speculative activity, it's not been accounted for, gets into the system, then we have what is happening now. But I can tell you that in the short term, government is taking, there have been meetings the whole of last week between the EMT and some stakeholders trying to be able to stagger some of the transfers that leave this country. We have the multinationals here monthly. There's some significant amount of close to about $500 million leaving our shores. Our own demand for our oil products, it's about $400 million. We have to deal with all of this at a point in time. It's been a cycle. If at any point in time there is an unaccounted demand, like I mentioned with the speculative activity, then you have the price of forex rising. So I'm sure government has heard their cries. Government is concerned. Government is not sitting unconcerned. Government is looking at immediately some very short-term measures to ensure that there is enough supply of dollars within the system to be able to contain the price. I mean, we have done it before. We saw what happened in 2022. Unfortunately, we are back to that levels of depreciation again. Evidently, the currency is depreciated about 14% from January to now. It is not good enough, but we are going to put in short-term measures like we saw in Parliament about 2 weeks ago, the passage of the approval of Ghana to go for the additional Gov't money. We've seen some money coming in through Exim. We are looking at the cocoa syndication, and all of these are short-term measures to ensure that we are able to contain the pressures on the currency. In addition, we are looking at the longer-term issues of import substitution. No economy can survive. No economy can survive being import dependent like the Ghanaian economy. So they themselves, the traders, some of the things that they import into this country. Let's look at the possibility of getting into local production. I mean, this is a country where...
what do they import? Please tell us.
Oh, of course, everything. I mean, you're waking up in the morning, from the coffee that you have in the morning through your food. Virtually everything. I live in Achimota. I see the vegetables coming in from Sahelian countries, which breaks my heart. You see, some of the things that we import, that we have comparative advantage, that we can produce in this. We are being encouraged. Then again, I'll even move to also the issue of with the central bank. I expected that the central bank at this time should be able to come up with some monetary policies, either to mop up excess liquidity, something to do to shore up the value of the currency, because at this rate, it is having a very big telling on the economy, on our standards, and all of that. I mean, these are the realities of the times. But the government is not looking on concern, like I'm saying. There are short-term measures and long-term measures to be able to arrest the depreciation of the city at this time.
Well, Eduji, I've heard the Ghana Union of Traders say, and Dr. Joseph Obing has consistently said, if they had a way, by way of the policy cushion, to improve in the direction of import substitution, some of the things that their members tend to import, they wouldn't. And they are basic commodities or consumables for which even Fuseni has even raised here. The thing is, if you don't have the backing of government policy, some of these things can happen. The traders in themselves can't do that alone, can they? Is that not it? From Gedgesbergen to a less import-dependent economy. Is that not what we were preached to prior to 2017?
I think that we have come to a time when we must appreciate the difference between rhetoric and actionable plans.
What do you mean by that?
Look, what we are seeing today is the evidence of 7 years of wasted opportunity. 7 years. In fact, we have a bunch of clueless, empty braggarts who took over the leadership of this country. And what we are seeing today is disaster and more disaster. As we speak now, government's only policy to keep the city stabilized, whether short-term or medium-term, is borrowing.
How so?
In fact, I have with me
categorized
the MPP shared communication tip for their communicators. And all the things that they have enumerated for their communicators to tell Ghanaians this morning is that they are going for $200 million from ECOWAS Bank, and that they are looking for another $150 million. They are looking for another $300 million borrowing from the IMF. And now when those monies come, it will stabilize the city. If you are expecting, right, that a policy of the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia administration can stabilize the Ghana city, there is no such policy. In fact, the claim of bold solution is actually bold failures. And if you look at what we have witnessed so far, it tells you that any attempt to give another 4 years to this MPP administration will be a disaster.
You don't know one district, one factory planting for food and jobs?
I am coming there. See, it took John Mahama only one project, the Ghana Gas Project, the Mills Mahama administration. That Ghana Gas Project alone has saved this country $350 million annually. In the past 7 years, if you put all the factories that the Akufo-Addo administration claimed to have set up, none of them has given this republic $350 million savings. None of them. None of all the factories. So what it tells you is that it is not about being a braggart, but it's about being actionable by way of your intelligence. And that is why H.E. John Dramani Mahama did. Just one project. Now, you see, we have a situation where government says they came out with planting for food and jobs.
Yes, they did. Actually, the annual allocation in excess of 600 million.
Fantastic. What has been the impact of planting for food and jobs? Today, food inflation is at what rate? Almost 40%. How can you claim that you have done planting for food and jobs and still be dealing with inflation? I'm not talking about general inflation, but the impact of food, the food basket in the computation of inflation.
Okay.
Because remember that inflation is weighted. So it is the things in the basket, the weight you place on it.
That's some.
And if you look at food inflation, so it tells you that this government policy, the so-called planting for food and job, has also been a disaster.
Yes,
Look, as we speak, tomatoes, and I've seen on social media, just 4 pieces. It's almost
20 Ghana.
Yes.
Depends, yeah.
How can you tell me that you have done planting for food and jobs, and we have this?
But when you go to the market, they say tomato is seasonal, so sometimes...
What? That tells you that this government lacks vision. 7 years. You could not even put irrigational facilities in place. Seasonality because of rain. And so if you have a visionary government, what you do is to put in place the necessary infrastructure that allows you to have continuous planting. What has been the use of this government in the past 7 years? And so if anybody comes here today to tell you that we have a short and medium-term solution, it is borrowing. And remember that from 2017, the Akufo-Addo administration strategy of stabilizing the Ghana cedi has been borrowing.
How so? What do you mean by borrowing?
And so you notice that in 2017, by April, they had already gotten the Franklin Templeton bond of $2.25 billion. 2018, they now went into the Eurobond market properly. By 2019, 2020, 2021, they had done Eurobond alone, $11 billion borrowing. And we are not even talking about concessionary and non-concessionary borrowing. We are talking about just Eurobond, $11 billion. So if you add the Franklin Templeton bond to it, that is $13 billion in bonds alone. Now, when you come to domestic, treasury bills borrowing, uncountable. Now, look at the situation where, after we were downgraded, Bank of Ghana stepped in and started printing money for this administration. So within the space of 3 years, Bank of Ghana alone had printed in excess of 50 billion Ghana cedis for this administration. I have never seen a wasteful, incompetent, corrupt administration like this. Look, if you look at how much money that had come into this administration, $132 billion in 7 years. $132 billion. The cedi equivalent being 900 billion in 7 years. What do they show for? Sole sourcing contracts. To the extent that as I speak to you, sole sourcing contracts alone to the brother of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is in excess of 218 million Ghana cedis. Sole source contract. Can you imagine that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the chairman of the Armed Forces Council? The roles in Teshi, the military barracks, Southern Command, are being done by his brother.
But are you saying that his brother cannot do any job?
It's not the question.
So what's the problem?
These are people who criticized sole sourcing because the sole source contract today are inflated. So it is costing the taxpayer more. If you read the Cocoa Board report, Cocoa Board Auditor General makes the point. Yes, I'll do that. Cocoa Board now makes the point that by reason of the inflated sole source contract, government of Ghana is paying pricely for these projects. So we should have it in mind that what you need, and I am happy that the concerns raised by the
Ghana Federation of Traders.
Look, John Dramani Mahama had come out with this bold the solution. And what does it say? H.E. John Dramani Mahama makes the point that, listen, if you give these importers the benefit of a fixed rate, remember that even import duties are calculated in dollars.
Yeah.
And so if you give them the benefit of a fixed rate, then they can plan. What it means is that in the next 6 months, they know that the dollar Cedi exchange will not go beyond this rate.
That's a flat rate.
No, the flat rate is different. This is fixed. The benefit of the fixed rate is that it allows you to plan. It allows you to anticipate and predict, unlike the flat rate that the MPP is promising. John Dramani Mahama is promising the fixed rate. And look, let nobody make this mistake.
Wrap up for me, Edriji.
Yes, I'm wrapping up. We must know, and the finance minister admits that having borrowed 5 billion Ghana cedis on the treasury bill market and paid to contractors, what the contractors have done is to go the Cecilia Dapa formula. You buy dollars and keep at home. And what it has done is to put downward pressure on the Ghana cedi. Because if you are taking even 2 billion to go and mop up dollars and keep, as Cecilia Dapa has done, as many government officials are doing, what it means is that the cedi is going to suffer further. And that is why the minister is saying that speculation should come down. So the Cecilia Dapa formula of buying dollars and keeping it under your bed is what many other Ghanaians have taken a cue from.
If we take a consideration and then the points made in the press conference of the finance minister the last week, I mean, altruism, he says that contractors have been paid in excess of billions, and so the excess liquidity in the market perhaps also is pushing for this demand for the dollar. At the end of the day, we'll need some solutions to be able to counter that. What better alternatives can we have, knowing that we've experienced this before? I remember in the last quarter of 2022, and it was extremely bad.
Yeah, Roland, there are a few, before I come to that, there are a few things that
you want to counter some of the things.
to counter. Okay. Contractors have been paid, and it tends to be negative. Is that what the NDC is saying? That we shouldn't pay contractors for work that they have done in the past? There will be a point at which contractors will have to be paid. They have done jobs for this country, and they will be paid. When they are paid, the control of that liquidity leaves the hands of government. What they decide to do is what we are feeling. The other issue of the vice president's brother, Ibrahim, he's been in this business much longer than the vice president got into politics, and he has a wherewithal. He has the capacity to do the jobs, including even doing the runway extension in Sunyani. He's done very major jobs in this country. He has the capacity. That is why he's getting those
the
jobs.
Vice President's brother.
Yes, that is why
he's done projects where.
Oh, the Sunyani runway, for instance. He was the one who did it, and he's done very major, including in my constituency.
He's done projects in your constituency as well.
Of course.
Which projects in your constituency?
He's done asphalting within Anahoma, within Neighbor Town. And
the vice president's brother.
Yeah, I was with the process from its initiation through the procurement.
You helped him get the contract?
I didn't even know him.
It was so.
I didn't even know him by then. It was published. I can show you the publication. Contractors bidded for it. It went through the procurement process, and then he won. So I don't know what the jury did this morning wants your viewers to believe. Yes, about the currency. Back to the currency. You see, we have run the structure in this country where we have tried, or we've had attempts at industrializing, right from pre-colonial era through the colonial to very early early days of our nationhood. We've tried building industries. Sometimes we have gotten it dead wrong. We have brought in a policy that, for me, it has a longer term impact on the economy that we run. And I will still say that, look, for us to have a policy in place, for us to be running it, it's much better than somebody who will sit and throw their hands in the air.
What are you referring to?
The 1D1F, of course. It is a long term. In the long term, it is the solution to our perennial pressure on our currency. Because, look, if we continue to create jobs in other jurisdictions because we import finished goods from them, it is what we are going to have intermittently in this country. So in the longer term, we have to look at policies like that. We are looking at policies like Gov't for oil, which if we had not introduced that in 2022, only God knows where our currency will be today. Today we are trying to shore out our reserves to support our currency. We are running the gold for reserves and policy, and I'm sure that we all heard Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, where he's going to intensify this policy so that we are able to build our reserves to a level where our currency will be stable. Your question was on
the vice president's brother. Which contract did he do before 2017?
Oh, Roland, if I knew you were going to ask me, I would have provided you.
So let me ask you the question again. The question again.
But his company has been incorporated since. I mean,
because you were saying that he's been doing projects. Yes. I'm surprised that you are. Yes. So I'm saying before 2017, what projects was he doing? Because he said he has long-standing experience.
I could be specific. Okay. I can provide you even before I leave here.
So let me ask you the question.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the question I asked was, what solution are we providing to make sure that now that we know there's pressure on the dollar, and indeed, yesterday I did ask somebody who trades both at the Forex Bureau as well as on the street, and it's gone up. They are now selling it close to 16, and sometimes if you want it in both and the demand is high, they can give you at 16.1. So what is the solution to make sure that we stem the tide so that we don't go back to the last quarter of 2022? That's the question.
The reality is that when you find yourself in such circumstances, there are short-term and long-term solutions that you have to look at. In the short term, the problem is that the demand for Forex outstrips the supply. So immediately what we need to do is to be able to make some dollars available so that the pressure on the cedi will come down. And that is what we are saying. I don't know where what wrong.
What are the solutions?
Oh, we've said that we have arrangements in place that by close of year, we have arrangements to have in the regions of our $2.3 billion in the system. This is all to ensure that there is enough dollars to be able to keep the Forex at a very manageable rate. And in a longer term, I've mentioned policies like a 1D1F because we cannot continue. We cannot continue to look for dollars or to look for safer to import onions into this country. Thankfully, we also have the supporting policies like the PFG 2.0, which is running now to ensure that we are able to feed ourselves. And I keep saying, until we are able to feed ourselves, until we produce what we spend or what we consume in this country, it is going to be
Why
difficult.
haven't we been able to do it? Because the president, during his campaign prior to 2017,
yes,
said from
of course,
from taxation to production.
Of course. And it's evident. It's evident. The impact, of course. I mean, 1D1F abounds everywhere. This morning, I can show you places where you can get drinks rather than buy maybe one particular brand from Spain that is very popular. If we all decide that we are going to go in for a confit juice and ensure that there is demand for their products so that the company is able to expand and grow just like other brands in their economies, we will be able to resolve. And this is a classical example of how we can move away from this. Else we have the cycles. No government can be able to make available enough dollars. Look, we are in a system where I mentioned earlier on, our fuel consumption alone is $400 million a month. We have multinationals having to transfer money. They have invested in this economy. Their profits out of this system, another about $500 million every month. And these are things that we have to contend with. On the other side of it, because the price is determined by demand and supply, we also have to make sure that there is enough supply. And if there is enough supply, then we have to run some of these policies to either reduce the level of dollars that we need to import for consumption, or look for other sources to improve upon the level of dollars in supply. And that's where we are caught up. We understand the traders, we understand what they are going through. Thankfully, they are also being engaged at all levels in the past week. And we expect that within the next days and weeks, we are going to see some respite in the pressure.
So
on
how much in
currency.
quantum will be coming in the next?
I've mentioned 2.3 million
billion.
by close of the year, but immediately we have seen the Gov't one that was ratified by Parliament. We are saying this Exim one come through the EcoBank. We are going to intensify the good for oil, so that we can take some of the $400 million that we have to use to import fuel and fuel products into this country. So those are the measures that the government is taking immediately to ensure. But in the longer term, let us produce what we consume in this country. In that case, we take a lot of pressure off our currency. That is the solution, whichever government. Edwin mentioned about the gas infrastructure, the gas infrastructure and whatever. They shouldn't forget that before the gas infrastructure, the gas infrastructure was built on the back of the oil find in this country. Before oil was discovered in commercial quantities in 2007, GNPC had been in existence right from the PNDC days. And what was GNPC doing? They were all over doing things that were not directly impacting the reason for which GNPC was built. It took President Kufuor to say that, look, let us concentrate on the reason for which GNPC was put in place. And that is what led to the discovery of oil. So if President Mills also came and built on the success of President Kufuor, that is how you build a nation. That is how you build an economy. And no credit, there won't be a gas industry if we didn't have oil in commercial quantities in this country.
At the end of the day, the arguments are that we have 1D, 1F. We still don't have any data that is indicating the quantum of import substitution, especially when it comes to produce, but also in dollar terms, the general substitution that we have for what the expenditure generally will be, if it's for traders or importers, etc. But be it as it may, those are the policies they keep arguing should be making an impact. What do you make of it?
You see, like I pointed earlier, if you listen to the MPP 2016 campaign, you heard Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo say that he is going to transform the Ghanaian economy in 18 months. We are in the 8th year, and we are talking about long-term solution. You have wasted 8 years. Nothing had come out of it. Look at the solution that he enumerated this morning. We are borrowing. We are borrowing. We are borrowing. We are borrowing.
That is a borrowing.
So of all the money he talked about this morning, they are all borrowed funds. Nothing more, nothing else. How can you sustainably build an economy where everything that you are dependent on is borrowing? Look, the Bank of Ghana has just put out our public debt numbers out there. Total public debt today is 658 billion Ghana cedis.
As at the last time.
What it means is that 80% of our total debt from independence had been put on the public debt numbers by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration.
That is not true.
80% from 122 billion. Do simple arithmetic. The difference between 658 minus 122 is what? So 80% of our public debt today is as a result of the reckless borrowing by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration. This is simple arithmetic. You understand? My 8-year-old daughter can just do that difference for you.
Oh, you are here with...
what shall I say?
Because
you see, I don't want...
Esla said the 70-year-old...
No, the reason why I don't want this matter
because some of these statements come to hold.
No. I don't want this to be reduced into what you call percentage conversation.
Okay.
Because nobody goes to market to buy in percentages. You have...
So you just want to explain
yes,
the
difference, that 80% of our total public debt today has been contributed by Akufo-Addo
658 as
minus
against
122.
Okay.
Simple
Billion.
arithmetic.
All right.
But you see,
Roland.
Please. No. You let me finish, you'll come, so that I don't lose my thought. You see, what you must all understand is that if we are looking for a more sustainable way of growing this economy, then we need a president who will take agric a bit more serious. I'll give you one example. When John Mahama decided to do the Tamni irrigation dam, our friends never understood and turned the campaign into one village, one dam. Which of the one village, one dam constructed by Akufo-Addo is still there? In fact, the minister responsible, Hawa Kumsin, is that her name? Yes. He said you cannot build a meaningful dam with 150,000 Ghana cedis. But you see, I have watched young men in Garu say that ordinarily they should be in Accra doing all kinds of jobs. But because of the Tamni irrigation dam, they are having to stay, and today they are growing carrots. That is how you build an economy. Sustainable economy. Not the rhetorics where everything. But you see, this morning you asked my brother a very interesting question in response to what I read. You asked him, until 2017, how was Dr. Bawumia's brother getting his contract? Was it through sole sourcing or competitive tendering? He's not been able to answer. Because the road contracts that Bawumia's brother is getting under his watch are sole sourced. What capacity has it shown to merit sole sourcing contracts? And you see, when you ask him the question, he couldn't answer because there's no answer. And like I pointed out here, Dr. Bawumia is the chairman of the Armed Forces Council. Now, road contracts in Teshi Barracks, Southern Command and others are packaged and given to his brother sole source. I don't know the meaning of, conflict more than this.
But sole sourcing is not, it's in the PPR.
Until MPP bastardize it. In fact, in the words of Gabi, sole sourcing amounts to stealing. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo bastardized it. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia himself bastardized sole sourcing. So the expectation is that with they coming to power, competitive tendering will be the norm. Today, as we speak, the Auditor General appointed by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo himself says 85% of Cocoa Board road contracts are done through sole sourcing. So it has become the norm instead of the exception. And so one of the things that we must all get clear is that this administration preaches one thing and does another. And that is why it cannot be the case that post-2025, we are going to have this kind of governance again. We must get it that it is clear that today, the Ghanaian trader who is watching us, the Obroniwawu importer, who in the past, if he has 1 million Ghana cedi, it could give him $250,000 worth of Obroniwawu. He will come and sell and get profit. Today, with the same 1 million Ghana cedis, she is only able to import $70,000 worth of Obroniwawu. Can you imagine how much of their wealth, how much of their savings is being taken away by reason of the depreciation of the cedi? Now, guess what? The person whose responsibility is it to manage the man who in opposition said restoring the value of the cedi would the anchor hold. The man who in opposition told us that when in doubt, observe the exchange rate, has abandoned the chairmanship of the economic management team and chasing the wind. He's no longer interested in the economy. I don't remember the last time Dr. Bawumia chaired EMT. As I speak to you, he is in the US, canvassing for votes. Whilst Ghanaian taxpayers, Ghanaian business... No, hold on, I beg you.
He's a candidate.
Has he resigned his position?
This is the first time.
Has he resigned his position as the chair of the EMT?
So what is
Has he resigned his position as the EMT?
Is this the first time
please, calm down.
vice president?
The man, look, listen.
Why is it that one fits you and the other?
Ghanaian importers, as I speak to you, Ghanaian importers are watching.
So you are saying that the home is hot and he's outside.
And he's there.
But that's
you know, when Rome was burning, Emperor Nero, do you know what he was doing? He was fidgeting. When Rome was burning, people are losing their capital. And the person whose responsibility is it to offer them hope is out there in the US. He doesn't know what is happening. And that is a mark of irresponsibility. Ghanaians should be wary. Look, this is a man who himself has denied that he's even no longer the person in charge. He's only in charge of digitalization. How incredible can this be? How can you trust such a person? And so we must all appreciate that once we promise, yes, I'll conclude on this. Once we promise an economy to be run 24 hours, and the vision is that, listen, if you run this economy 24 hours, it provides the necessary stimulus. it provides the necessary, catalyst to promote economic growth. Two things I have said on this platform. The fixed rate for importers. Then the 24-hour economy. The necessary, sponsorship we'll give to business people will provide the sustainability that we require. But curiously, before gold for oil, 2016, when there was no gold for oil, yes, a gallon of petrol was 16 cedis maximum. The whole gallon, when there was no gold for oil. Today that we have gold for oil, as one of the trumpeted policy of the Akufo-Addo administration, the whole gallon is 67 Ghana cedis. Can you imagine? So how can you call this a bold solution when the bold solution had made life more difficult for the Ghanaian? This cannot be bold.
So now the traders are saying that they give government 2 weeks, they'll hit the streets. The finance minister has sought to assuage the feelings of the traders and the importers. And now this is the ultimatum they've given government. What will be the response of government, so to speak?
Roland, this morning, Ejuji has been at it, but when we talk about borrowing, we know what they did. They grew our national debt by 12-fold. 12-fold. They met a national debt of 9.8 billion. By the time they left office, it was 122 billion. 12-fold. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-fold. We met a debt of 122 billion.
Hussaini, this is voodoo economics.
No, I am not.
Seriously.
Doing economics.
This is voodoo economics. You cannot say that you came to meet.
Arithmetic. My 4-year-old daughter, Zena will appreciate this. My 4-year-old daughter will appreciate. I am not doing economics.
Is it not true that your 4-year-old daughter, Zainab,
Roland,
you said Zainab.
Look,
is it
Roland,
not true?
This is not economics. I am doing arithmetic.
Is it not true that you cannot tell your 4-year-old daughter that I owe a bank?
If I tell her that, I owe a bank 8 billion.
I owe a bank 122 billion. And now I've increased that debt to 658 billion. And I'm rather in a more comfortable state than I was when it was 122 billion.
Roland, I'm doing very simple arithmetic. Zena in class 2 will appreciate
that. Cannot be a correct arithmetic for saying.
Oh, how is it not correct arithmetic?
In terms of what?
9.8 billion to 122 billion. I'm seeing that it has grown 12-fold, right? Times 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. On the flip side, 122 billion to 658, given the challenges that this government had to contend. Please,
you gave him the opportunity.
Oh, please. When you were speaking, I was very quiet.
It's unfair.
When you were speaking, I was very quiet.
No, it's not about that. I just want to.
I am saying that 122 to 650 billion. It's about 5-fold. This is the reality.
Okay, in real terms, in the real numbers. 122 billion.
Yeah.
and you
And
owing
don't forget.
658 billion, which is more.
Don't forget.
Which is more. I've
Don't
asked you a
forget.
question.
Oh, but
Are you choosing to answer which question you want to, or you are telling me which narrative you want to give?
of course, don't forget.
I asked
that.
you a specific question.
Don't forget.
122 billion and 658 billion of Ghana by way of public debt, which is more.
There are two drivers of our national debt. It's new debt that comes on board. And exchange
Please
rate.
call the
Sometimes
service provider
when
for
you
the
are not
National
even
Health
borrowed.
Insurance Scheme for me.
You have not borrowed.
So that
right?
we'll speak on the minorities' concern. Mr. Fuseni doesn't want
just 2 minutes.
No, you don't have
If
to.
you're also not going to listen to me, then
No,
I don't have to be honest.
Continue. I mean, continue.
Yes, because I'm beginning and you are interjecting. Are you now the timekeeper or you're the host?
It's not a matter of-
Then go and sit here. Then go and sit here.
Let him
I am
complete.
saying.
Then go and sit here, Ejuji.
We're not going to have last
Then
week.
go and sit
He
here.
spoke first.
Then
But
go
he
and
hasn't
sit here.
landed.
I
Let him-
rebutted.
Go and sit here.
Then he came
Yes.
in. I rebutted.
Okay.
Then he's
I'll give you a little
Mr. Tamaklo, go and sit here.
All right.
What's
Go
your
and sit
sense
here.
of
Then you can have
fairness? What's your
that.
sense of
All right.
fairness?
If you sit here, then you can have that.
Please. You
I
were
am saying that.
yeah.
I am saying that. 9.8 billion is what the NDC inherited in 2009. By 2016, when they were leaving office, they had grown our national debt by 12-fold. 12-fold. We inherited 122. It is at a level of 650 today, right? And
Billion.
billion, of course. And all the figures are
Which is more.
billions. It is. Then again, I am
The
going
debt,
to tell you.
the debt of 122 billion and 658 billion. Which one is
Roland,
more
are you
debt?
going to allow me to make my point? Every time I try to make my point, you have to interject, and you make me lose my flow. Is it deliberate?
You are always
and then
on
you
this
are going to
platform
call,
playing
and then
victim.
and then
It's
you
unfair.
can, and then you are going to call me.
No. You
Let
see,
him
are going
go.
to call me. You are going
on
to call
this
me somebody who
platform,
is
he just
disruptive.
told us that the 4-year-old daughter's appreciation of the numbers. Now, do you know
promise that
something?
you're not gonna-
No. The
Is it my
daughter
turn or his turn?
today,
Or I should give
Fuseni's
him?
daughter,
So I should just
Fuseni's
go.
daughter's share of our
Should I-
public
should I
debt
cedd the
is
program to him?
21,000 Ghana
Roland, you are not allowing me
That
to
is
make
how
my
much
point.
your
What is
daughter
this?
owes today.
Adiji.
21,000. As at 2016.
You know I know how to do it.
Your daughter
You know how to
owes
do it, right?
only 4,000.
You know I can
Today
do it.
it is 21,000. This is the plain numbers.
Okay.
How do you do this kind of mathematics?
from
on
a
the
level
platform?
of from a
Exchange
level of
platform,
9.8
From
billion.
Edward, you have patience,
4,000.
please.
Okay, very
From
well.
a
I will
level
have
of
my turn.
9.8
If
billion.
not, we are not leaving.
From from a level of 9.8 billion in
You have 2
2008,
minutes, please.
it grew to 122 billion, 12-fold. It's a very simple arithmetic. We met a level of 122 billion, and it's at 650. There are two drivers to the national debt levels at every point in time. New loans that come on, and the exchange rate is critical. This time, that because of the turbulence that we are experiencing now, because of the rate of depreciation. In fact, if the Cedi depreciates by 14% from January to date, given that about half of our national debt is in forex, it means that half of it would have grown by 14%, even when we have not borrowed a dime. And we are under a program, this time around, beside multinational borrowing. We are not doing bilateral borrowing. And so those are some of the intricacies. But I am making a point that NDC as a party between 2009 and 2016 grew our national debt by 12-fold. We have not even gotten to 5-fold.
In real terms, how
At
much?
a time, but this is real. At a time, they took over the governance of this nation. The exchange rate was about $1 to a Cedi in 2009. Remember, we had come from the redenomination in about 2007, 2008. And we experienced an average annual depreciation in the currency of about 14%. Ours, since we came into power from 2017 to date, it's about 12%, given the turbulence.
What rate was
given the
inherited in
turbulence.
2017?
I am saying that
What rate was it?
the average annual depreciation. Allow me to make my point, Roland. I don't really
Roland,
see where
you have
your
the
question
same
is.
point. You
Please
just
call the
decided-
health
I
insurance.
am saying that
decided not to be
under
fair
the
to me
NDC
on
from
this platform.
2009 to 2016,
All right.
we experienced
As in
average
Paritia, what
depreciation of the
can-
currency by 14%. To date, we have done 12%. It doesn't mean that ours is, but comparative to what the NDC did, we have done much better. with the management of currency.
you see,
Given
Roland,
the challenges
right.
we have had to
Roland,
experience from
Roland.
2020 to date,
Fuseni, you're a finance person, right?
I said,
Roland,
given
Roland.
the challenges that we have had to contain
Roland,
in this country
Roland.
and the global
Roland,
situation,
I beg
we
your
have
pardon.
managed the currency
Roland,
much better than
I
the
beg-
NDC.
I beg-
And then the
I
fact,
beg your
and the
pardon.
fact,
I have no.
these
I'll
are
bring